Thank you. Please be seated. We're back on the record in the matter of State of Utah versus MacNeill. He is present with his counsel. The state's attorneys are present and the jury is seated. You may call your next witness.
State calls Dave Thomas.
Mr. Thomas, if you'll come forward right here to the clerk's desk, please raise your right hand and take an oath. Thank you. If you'd be seated here.
Will you please state your name and spell your name for the record?
Yes. It's David Thomas, last name Thomas.
And how were you employed?
I'm the Deputy Fire Chief of Pleasant Grove Fire.
And how were you employed in April of 2007?
Same position.
What kind of training and experience do you have that qualify you for this position?
I am a state-certified firefighter and fire officer and a state-certified paramedic.
How long have you been such?
Since, well, varying times, but I began my full-time career in 1979.
Were you acting in the capacity of a Deputy Fire Chief on April 11th of 2007?
Yes.
Do you remember a call around noon on that day?
Yes.
Will you tell us about that?
It was a call on the north end of town for a possible drowning.
And what did you do when you received this call?
I responded with Chief Mark Sanderson to the address.
You were in the same vehicle with Chief Sanderson?
Yes.
And what happened when you came to this address?
When we arrived, we found a female patient in full cardiac, pulmonary and cardiac arrest.
What was going on at this residence while you were there?
By the time we arrived, pardon me, other first responders had arrived and CPR was in progress.
Okay. What did you do when you got there and observed what was going on?
Well, we each took positions and continued with the resuscitation.
Okay. Do you remember what positions you took?
I don't recall.
Do you remember what home this was?
It was the MacNeill home.
Okay. You see the defendant sitting here with the bluish-yellow tie on?
I do.
Do you recognize that person?
Yes.
Was that person at the house on this occasion?
Yes, he was.
Did you have the opportunity to observe him while you were there?
I did.
And what did you observe?
He was there when I first arrived. He was not participating in a resuscitation, but was moving about the house. He would occasionally stop and make comments to us as we continued with the resuscitation.
You remember what these comments were?
I don't remember specifically, but he seemed to be fairly excited as he moved about.
So he's moving about a lot?
Yeah, he would. He would step in and would step out.
Do you remember what he was talking about, even if you don't remember what exact words he was using?
Yeah, he would occasionally give us directions on what type of drugs we might use during the resuscitation, and certain procedures that he maybe wanted done. And all of those were actually being taken care of, and they were in progress, but not necessarily in the order he was giving us directions in.
Was his action having any effect on you?
It was disruptive because he was loud and moving about.
Did you understand what his profession was at this time?
I understood it that he was a physician.
And how did you understand that?
I don't recall.
Did he tell you he was a doctor?
He may have. I don't remember specifically hearing him say that, but that's my impression as I look back on that time.
You remember telling investigators that he said he was a physician?
I could have very easily said that.
What else can you tell us about how he was acting?
His activity was disruptive, but I don't remember giving him much attention.
You said he was loud?
Yeah.
And he was moving about a lot?
Right.
Was he doing anything else?
No, he didn't physically come and impede the resuscitation. He would come in and look over the resuscitation and then leave again. But
you remember in a previous statement talking about him speaking about his religion?
that was something that caught me by surprise. He said something to the effect, as he was essentially cursing God, after all that I've done for you, and all the time that I've spent in the church, why have you done this to me? And I actually remember I thought he mentioned that he had been a bishop, and mentioned that having even been a bishop, that he wondered why God would do this to him.
In your role on this day, did you go with the patient to the hospital or return back to work?
No, pardon me. We didn't respond to the hospital in the ambulance, but we did respond to the hospital in a separate vehicle.
Okay. And was the defendant at the hospital when you were there?
He arrived just a short time after we arrived.
And can you describe how he was acting on that occasion?
His aberrant behavior continued there, in and out of the room and up and down the hallway.
Do you remember what he was saying at that time?
I don't recall anything specific.
You remember telling investigators something about money?
He said generally, pardon me, he said generally to those that were working on the patient that he would give them anything if we could resuscitate her. There could have been a mention of money, but I remember him mentioning something about, I will give you anything if you can just save her.
Just a second. I'll tender the witness, Your Honor.
You may cross.
Your Honor, I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Do you have questions for this witness? Anyone? Very good. May Mr. Thomas step down today?
Yes, and we've explained to him about the subpoena and such.
He'll remain under subpoena then? Yes? You'd like him to remain under subpoena, that's all right, both state and defense?
Yes.
Very good. You'll remain under your trial subpoena. If you need to come back, we'll give you notice. Thank you. Next.
State calls Dan Beckstrom.
Mr. Beckstrom, if you'll come forward to the clerk's desk, please raise your right hand and take an oath.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you shall give in the case now pending before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. If you'll be seated to my left.
Will you please state and spell your name?
Dan Beckstrom. Last name is Beckstrom.
And how are you employed?
I'm a police officer for Pleasant Grove City.
How long have you been a police officer for Pleasant Grove?
I was originally hired as a reserve officer in August of 2005.
And then when did you become a full-time officer?
in July of 2006.
Okay, and are you currently post-certified?
I am,
And were you post-certified in April of 2007?
yes.
What was your assignment in April of 2007?
I was on patrol that day.
And as a patrol officer, were you dispatched anywhere around noon?
Yes, there was a dispatch call to a medical.
To a medical, which means what?
There was a medical emergency in the Mill Creek subdivision.
Okay, what did you do?
I responded. I remember that I arrived after the medics. There was 2 officers that arrived before me, and I went to the home to help there.
Okay. What did you see as you arrived at the home?
As I arrived at the home, the medics were going in the home, as I remember, and I went in the front door, and because I knew that 2 officers were there before me, and I do recall that the emergency was in a bathroom, and so because there was already 2 officers in there and some medics going down the hall, I also had noticed that there was some people in the front yard, 3, 4, maybe 5 people in the front yard, and that I assumed were neighbors. And so because there was already enough people, I thought, to attend to the patient, I stayed near the front door.
Okay. What, if anything, happened while you were at the front door?
Well, while I was at the front door, I don't remember who had told Mr. MacNeill to stay out of the bathroom. And because of that, I was staying near Mr. MacNeill.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to observe the defendant?
Yes.
And how was he?
He was hysterical. He was blurting out things like why did you have to have the surgery? Why are you on so many medications? Why God? And and he was pacing about in and out of the home, and just hysterical.
What happened after this?
I was actually trying to calm him down. I felt that it was quite a scene with him yelling. And so I told him, you need to calm down. You need to take some deep breaths. I think I even was concerned that he was going to hyperventilate because he was shouting so much and he wouldn't stop walking back and forth. And I remember him telling me, I'm a doctor. I know I'm okay. Don't tell me what to do. And so, again, I followed him as he would go into the front yard, and then he'd come back in the living room and back and forth several times. A short time later, the medics were bringing Michelle out of the bathroom on a gurney, and Mr. MacNeill then started questioning the medics. Have you done this? Have you tried this? Have you started this? Have you done this? And Chief Sanderson had arrived by then, and Chief Sanderson was kind of directing what the medics were doing, and he was able to answer MacNeill's questions, saying, yes, we've done this. Yes, we've started this. Yes, we're doing this. And then they transported Michelle, and Mr. MacNeill went with them.
I'm assuming when you've said, and they told MacNeill this, or Mr. MacNeill this, you're referring to the defendant sitting right here.
Yes.
I've asked the court to have the record reflect that he's identified the defendant.
No objection.
The record will so reflect.
Did anything happen after this?
Not that I'm remembering.
Okay. And then you went back on patrol after assisting on this scene.
I did. I do remember that that Officer Wright was an investigator, and that he came, and that we did speak, but he didn't come after. He arrived sometime after me, but I believe before Michelle was transported. And so he and I had a discussion as to Mr. MacNeill's demeanor.
Okay. Thank you.
You may cross.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So as I understand your testimony, when you arrived on scene, you took the responsibility of looking out for Mr. MacNeill for a time and keeping him away from those that were doing the resuscitation.
It was a combination. I remember that I was concerned about the neighbors gathering, and I didn't want them to come in the home. But I also do remember that Mr. MacNeill had been asked to stay out of the bathroom so that they could attend to Michelle. And I didn't feel like I ever had to keep him from going in that room, but that he was my focus because he was shouting and pacing.
Okay. And then, in your recollection, is that somewhere close to when Michelle was being taken out, that Chief Sanderson arrived and then he took over?
I don't recall when he arrived.
Okay.
What I remember is that as Michelle was being brought out, and the reason I remember it was because Mr. MacNeill was so, there was just a lack of focus with his shouting. And this sticks out to me because the only time that he did focus was when he questioned the medics. And so I know that Chief Sanderson was there because it was he who is, when he's on scene, he's in charge, he's the chief. And it was he who was answering MacNeill's questions. And when MacNeill was questioning the medics, that was the only time that he wasn't completely random in his hysteria, and that he was focused on those questions. And it was Chief Sanderson who answered those. So I can't say when Chief Sanderson arrived. I just know that he was there as they were bringing Michelle out.
The delivery may not have been appropriate, but the content of the questions was appropriate in relation to efforts that could be done to resuscitate a person. Is that a
Objection,
fair statement?
Foundation.
Sustained, you may, I don't think he's testified about his emergency response experience.
Do you have experience in performing CPR?
I have performed CPR before, yes.
Do you have experience in responding to scenes like this before?
Before now or before that?
Before then?
I had responded to some, but I had only been a full-time officer less than a year. So I didn't have a lot.
Okay, I'll move on. You did go into the home and look around, correct?
I was in the home.
And do you recall being interviewed on December 10th of 2008 by investigators Whitney and Robinson?
I do remember a meeting with investigators Whitney and Robinson.
And it was a group interview with you and Mike Roberts, Mark Wright, Dan Beckstrom, and Ray Ormond?
Yes,
I'm sorry, I included you in the list. So,
I was there.
yeah. And so you heard all of the questions that were asked and the answers that were given by the other officers that were there as well, correct?
If you're asking me to remember off the top of my head, no, it was just over an hour-long interview, I believe.
Right, but you were not separated in such a way that you couldn't hear the answers of others, right?
Correct.
So you heard all of the questioning and answering.
Yes.
And in that interview, you indicated that you noticed that there were medications on the entertainment center by the TV in the MacNeill bedroom?
I did indicate that in that interview.
And then you also had an interview with Jeff Robinson on August 2nd of 2012. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And in that interview, do you recall indicating that you saw a basket of meds in the bathroom?
I do remember that interview. I believe also in that interview, I
Well,
was very clear that I was fuzzy on my recollection of the whereabouts of the items in the bathroom and such. And I didn't go in that bathroom until after Michelle had been transported.
right. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm showing you some notes that were made by Investigator Robinson. Does that refresh your recollection about whether you told him that you'd seen medications in the bathroom?
I do remember the discussion with him that I saw medications in the bathroom. And as we just said, I remembered that I thought I saw medications. I should say, at that time, I remembered seeing medications on the entertainment center.
That's all the questions I have, Your Honor. May I
Would
approach?
you collect those? I think there are a couple of things there.
Leave it there, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Any redirect for this witness?
So you're saying you had previously stated that you had seen pill bottles on what you believed was an entertainment center.
Correct.
I'm going to project, if I can approach, Your Honor.
You may.
I keep forgetting this exhibit's number. State's Exhibit 22. And Officer Beckstrom, by you is a laser pointer. Well, it does other things than just laser point, but the center button will make that work.
Okay.
Would you point out where you were when you first came on the scene and you said you were kind of standing there?
It's not on here.
Okay, where would it be?
It would be down below near Mr. Robinson's head in the entryway.
Okay, and then you say you later went into the bathroom and the bedroom after Michelle had been removed from the residence, is that correct?
That's correct, and I remember that based on reviewing my interview with Investigator Whitney. I do not have a strong memory of that.
Okay, so your memory of that is, you remember saying that, but you don't have it specifically compartmentalized in your mind?
I vaguely remember going into that bathroom afterwards, yes.
Do you remember where these pills would have been in this location? You don't have to guess if you don't know.
What does that say there? How is that labeled?
A fireplace.
A fireplace. Yeah, I do not remember exactly where they were. If my recollection would be that they were somewhere near the bed, but I don't.
Do you remember what kind of bed this was? You can go ahead and turn that off. Thank you, Callie.
I remember that it was some sort of hospital-type bed.
Okay, so you remember a hospital-type bed in the bedroom?
In the area near the bathroom there, near the tub.
Okay, and you remember the pills were by that bed?
Correct.
Did you observe the patient, Michelle, at all while you were there?
I saw her as she was being brought out by the medics on the gurney.
So you didn't go render first aid?
No,
You didn't help carry her out?
I did not.
You did not administer life-saving procedures to her?
I did not.
Do you remember how long you stayed at the residence after the patient was removed?
I do not remember how long we were there.
Do you remember if you stayed, well, let me ask you this. Do you remember if the defendant was at the residence when you were still there?
I do not remember Mr. MacNeill being there after Michelle was transported.
Okay. Can I have just a second, Your Honor?
You may.
I don't have any other questions, Your Honor.
Anything further? Do you have any questions? Looks like just one. Would you approach? Mr. Thomas, the jury has one question. After Michelle was transported, did you notice any clothing in the bedroom or bathroom floors? If so, what color were the clothing items?
You said Mr. Thomas, I'm Mr. Beckstrom.
I'm sorry,
It's okay.
Mr. Beck. The record should reflect the question is for Mr. Beckstrom. Go ahead.
I don't recall any clothing in the bathroom.
Thank you. Any further questions?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Remain under subpoena, released today? Very good, thank you. You may step down. Next.
State calls Mark Wright.
Okay, go ahead, yeah. Sir, if you'll come forward here to the clerk's desk, please raise your right hand and take an oath.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you shall give in the case now pending before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Thank you. If you'll be seated here and respond to counsel's questions.
Would you please state your name and spell it for the record?
Yes, my name is Mark Dana Wright, and that's M-A-R-C-D-A-N-A W-R-I-G-H-T.
And how are you employed?
I'm currently a police officer with the City of Linden.
Okay. And what assignment are you currently under?
Currently, I'm assigned to the Patrol Division for Linden City,
In what capacity?
just a patrol officer.
And on April 11th of 2007, how were you assigned?
I was working for the City of Pleasant Grove, or Pleasant Grove Police Department, and I was a detective.
And are you currently certified as a peace officer in the state of Utah?
Yes, I am.
And were you in 2007?
Yes, I've been certified since 2001.
Okay, and so you have, at this point, 12 years of law enforcement experience.
Approximately, yes.
Were you called on a matter at around noon on April 11th of 2007?
I responded to an incident on that day, yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Our police department has its own dispatch center. Officers were dispatched to a address in the Mill Creek subdivision or area of Pleasant Grove. Possible female drowning.
Okay. And what did you do when you were alerted to this?
Contacted my sergeant, Sergeant Mike Roberts, who was the sergeant at the time, and just let him know that I would be responding as a detective to photograph the scene.
Okay. Do you remember what time you arrived?
I don't remember the exact time.
Do you remember when you arrived in relation to other people that were there?
When I arrived, there were several of our other patrol officers already on scene. I believe I arrived just shortly before paramedics.
Okay. Do you remember when you arrived in relation to Officer Beckstrom?
I want to say I arrived pretty much simultaneously with Officer Beckstrom.
Okay. This was about 6 years ago, is that correct?
But, excuse me?
This was about 6 years ago.
Yes, it was.
Do you remember everything perfectly?
No, I don't.
Okay. Tell us about what you saw when you arrived.
Just at the house or inside the house or?
After you arrived.
I arrived at the house, or like I say, several patrol vehicles parked out front. House facing to the west into the subdivision faces a park. I remember the door was standing open. There were, like I said, lights and sirens from the patrol cars that had responded prior, and I made my way up into the house.
Okay. You went inside the home.
I did.
And what, if anything, did you see when you went inside the home?
I kind of followed the noises that were coming from inside the house. Ended up in like a master bathroom type area, and observed officers performing CPR.
Okay. Did you observe anything else?
Like, can you be a little more specific with your question?
Are you familiar with the defendant, Martin MacNeill?
I am, from this case, yeah.
Okay. And do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Will you identify him?
He's seated at the table in the dark suit with the blue shirt.
Okay. I'd ask the court to have the record reflect he's identified the defendant.
No objection.
Record
you-
will so reflect. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
Your Honor. Did you observe him on that occasion?
I did.
And will you tell us about what you saw?
I observed Martin inside the home. He was dressed in, I refer to him as Dr. Scrubs. I don't remember the exact color, but he also had like a white lab coat or a doctor's type coat over the top. Had some cursive writing on one side or the other of the chest. I don't remember which side, and I don't remember exactly what it stated.
What was he doing?
He was very animated, very loud, just kind of moving about the house, specifically the bedroom and bathroom area of the house.
Was he saying anything?
He was saying a lot of things. He was, like I said, he was very animated. Seemed to be very, very upset.
Do you remember what he said?
I remember a few things that he had said. Specifically, one thing that I recall him saying was in regards to apparently Michelle had plastic surgery, cosmetic surgery type, and, excuse my language, he referred to, why did you have to have this fucking surgery?
Okay. Do you remember anything else he said?
Just, like I say, he was just highly animated. Why? He was pleading for her to come back.
And you said part of your job duties here was to take photographs.
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibits 24 through 32. Will you look at these? Do you recognize those?
I do. These are photographs I took inside the home that day, in the bathroom area and the surrounding, I guess it was a bedroom area.
Okay. And do you recognize the contents of what they have?
Yes.
And are those photographs fair and accurate depictions of what you saw and took pictures of on that day?
Yeah, they appear to be a little bit enlarged on a couple of them, but yes.
Okay. At this time, I would offer State's Exhibits 24 through 32, Your Honor.
You had an opportunity to see them.
Yeah, if I could just review them.
Yep. Could you provide them to defense counsel? Numbers again, I'm sorry. 24 through 32. Any objection to States 24 through 32?
No, Your Honor.
They will be received.
May I publish them on the projector, Your
You
Honor?
may.
May I approach the bench, please?
Go ahead, yeah.
I apologize, Your Honor. I don't have the exact numbers for these.
Would these help you?
Yes.
Go ahead, yeah.
I'm going to try and get out of your way if I can.
Oh, you're fine.
This is, I believe, State's Exhibit 24. Will you tell us what you took a picture of here?
That picture is in the bathroom on the tile, obviously, but it is a picture of some blood mixed with water that was just standing on the tile.
Okay. Do you remember where on the tiled floor this was?
I don't remember the exact location on the tile, just that it was inside the bathroom, outside of the tub.
This is State's Exhibit 25. What is this a picture of?
That's a picture of more of the blood that inside the residence. I believe that is on the carpet just inside the bedroom area after Michelle's body was moved from the bathroom into the...
So you're saying just outside of the bathroom on the carpeted area?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 26.
That is a couple of blood drops again mixed with some water, or diluted with water, that is on the edge of the bathtub inside the bathroom.
State's Can we go back? Where is this on the bathtub? We obviously don't have a whole panoramic view.
I believe it was up towards the top edge, not kind of on the curve of the bathtub, up towards the top. If I was looking at this bathtub here, up more towards where the drain hole is that I can see, but on this left-hand side my left-hand side.
Do we have the witness step down?
Yeah, go ahead. If you'll step down, could you turn up the lights?
What I recall was right in this area.
Okay. And for orientation purposes, we've marked this as the faucet area.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, from what I recall, it was in this area.
Okay, thank you. And for the record, Your Honor, I believe the witness pointed to the end that the faucet would be on, but on the opposite side of the faucet.
The record will reflect that. Could you turn the lights on?
Okay, this is States 27. What is this showing?
Those are articles of clothing that Michelle was wearing prior to our arrival. The black shirt is a long sleeve black shirt. There's also a brassiere and a LDS garment top.
States Exhibit 28.
That is just inside the, like I say, I guess it's a bedroom that was off of the bathroom area.
And what are we seeing in there?
Oh, sorry. That is the bed that I assume that Michelle had been staying in after having her surgery.
Okay, and do you see anything by the bed?
Inside the tote on the right side of the picture, there was it was a small table like nightstand. The tote was hospital tote that you would see in a hospital or an emergency room, and it was filled with medications.
Like prescription bottles?
Prescription bottles, yes.
Okay, what do you see behind the hospital bed?
There was another bed, large king or queen size bed.
States 29.
That picture is again in the bathroom. I believe at the same end of the tub as I've already previously described, next to the bathtub and the shower connect pretty much end to end.
Is this a more expansive view of the blood spot that you have in States Exhibit 24?
I believe so. I believe that photo was taken from the threshold of the door into the bathroom.
From the bedroom?
From the bedroom, yes, correct.
States Exhibit 30.
That's, again, just another picture of the overall from the bedroom area through the doorway threshold into the bathroom, the adjoining bathroom.
All right, first the witness, Your Honor.
You may.
We have a laser pointer up here. We'll just push this right here.
Okay.
Will you point out on this picture where the blood spots you described on the tub were?
I believe they were going to be right in this area.
Okay. Again, that's on the side opposite from the faucet, lengthwise, widthwise, but lengthwise on the same end as the faucet.
Yes.
And where is the blood spot in States Exhibit 24 in this picture?
It's going to be right in this general area where it's shinier, where you can see the water standing on the floor.
Okay, so that's standing water next to it.
Yes, it is.
States Exhibit 32. What do we see here?
I believe that is just like a shampoo and conditioner bottle inside the bathtub.
Okay, and what do you see at the top of this tub?
Where are you referring? I see this area right here.
Yes.
It's the drain plug, I believe.
The drain plug?
Or it's a silver hole, but I believe it's a drain plug cover, a vent.
And what is the purpose of that? Are you aware?
I believe it's to give it air so the tub can drain properly. I'm not a plumber, so I'm not for certain.
What do you see down by the cosmetics?
These are, if you're referring to these,
I'm not saying right next to them.
oh, right here? That's the drain itself, or where the water would escape the bathtub.
Thank you. I believe that's all the questions I have for this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do you have cross-examination?
Morning.
How you doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing not too bad for working a graveyard.
Well, won't be too long.
All right, thanks.
When you arrived at the MacNeill home on April 7th, 2011,
2007, you mean?
yes, April 11th, 2007, thank you. Michelle was still in the bathroom area of the home being administered CPR. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And then, was she subsequently moved?
She was. Numerous paramedics as well as officers were on scene. The bathroom is bigger than average size, but still not a size to accommodate paramedics, officers, and all the subsequent gear that we bring into a scene.
Do you have any idea how much time passed from the time that you observed Michelle in the bathroom until she was moved?
I don't recall an exact amount of time, but I would say within a few minutes.
Minutes. Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may. You may.
Officer Wright, I'm showing you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit B. Would you get a pen with you?
Your Honor,
I don't, but there's one right here.
Yeah, it's already been received, so I don't want him to mark it. Do you have another copy
we
or?
can project it,
what-
Okay.
Okay, why don't we,
or I have a non,
Oh, we can project it, though.
okay.
okay,
Oh,
I have a paper copy of it without the.
will that work?
yep.
Let's have it marked, and
May I approach to observe this, Your Honor?
you may. Mr. Wright, would you just write your name on this document as well, so that we know it's from you?
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit C. Would you just, and stick figures are fine, draw where Michelle's body was when you first observed her?
When I first observed her, maybe right in this area somewhere.
And then would you also draw where she was after she was moved?
I don't recall the exact location, but assuming this is the doorway into the master bedroom, is that correct?
Yes.
Somewhere right in this area. I don't remember the exact orientation.
Thank you. And we move that Exhibit C be received.
No objection.
C is received.
Officer Wright, you recall being interviewed by investigators Whitney and Robinson in December of 2008?
I don't remember the exact date, but I do recall being interviewed by them, yes.
And that was a group interview, you and a number of other officers?
Yes, I believe myself and 3 other officers.
And the interview was conducted in such a way that you could hear the answers of other officers and they could hear yours?
Yes, they were, Robinson and Whitney were seated at a table, and we were seated directly across them, from the table from them.
Okay. When you observed Michelle, you observed that she had a garment top on, a bra, and a black long sleeve shirt. Is that correct? And you didn't observe any type of clothing on the bottom half of her body?
No, I did not. Like I said, as I testified to previously.
Okay. And is that true for both when she was in the bathroom as well as after she was moved to the bedroom?
Some of the articles were removed by paramedics.
Some of the articles of clothing?
The garments on top were removed by paramedics. I don't remember. I believe all of the garments were removed.
Okay. So when she was in the bedroom, did she have any clothing on at all, to your recollection?
For a short period of time she did, yes, but I don't know the length of time that she did.
And in that short period of time, was just the top part of her body was closed briefly? Okay. You recall that her hair was sopping wet?
Her hair was sopping wet, yes.
And you've described my client, Mr. MacNeill, as being very hysterical, correct?
Yeah, very hysterical, animated, a lot of hand gestures, a lot of hand movement, moving about the room, like I said, between the bathroom and the bedroom.
You described him as just rambling on hysterically, not a whole lot of thought process going on. Fair statement?
I didn't describe that, but I would say that as a fair statement, yes.
Okay. And as you testified, you observed the clothing that Martin had on, correct?
I did.
And you observed that his arms of his jacket were wet, correct?
Yes.
And you've indicated that he could have been even more wet, but you just don't recall.
I don't recall.
You filled out a police report after this incident, is that correct?
I did. I compiled 2 reports.
2 reports, okay. And in relation to the report for April 11th, 2007, you indicated that you spoke with Mr. MacNeill, correct?
Can I just
Yeah,
check my notes
absolutely.
really quick? I did, yes.
And you indicated that what you found is that Michelle was taking medications to assist in the recovery and for pain.
Yes.
Correct. You also indicated in your report that when you arrived, there were 2 males that were performing CPR, correct?
Yes.
And that one of those males was my client, Mr. MacNeill, correct? And do you know who the other male was?
I believe the other male was a neighbor.
Neighbor?
I don't have a name, I'm sorry.
And did you observe the transition between Mr. MacNeill and the neighbor performing CPR to Officers Motzinger and Ormond taking over CPR?
I don't recall
Okay.
that happening, no.
After you took the pictures and left the home, you never came back to the house to do any follow-up investigation, correct?
Not in that case, no.
And at that time, while you thought Mr. MacNeill's behavior was strange, you didn't think it suspicious, correct?
Not at the time, no.
That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Redirect.
At the point you left, you were not suspicious of any foul play. That's what defense counsel just asked you. Is that correct?
That is correct, I was not.
At that point, had you received any evidence that Michelle was only taking 2 Percocet pills as opposed to what was later found in her toxicology?
Sorry, could you repeat?
When you were not suspicious, were you aware that Michelle had only been taking a couple of Percocet prior to her death?
I was.
Objection, Your Honor, suggesting facts that aren't in evidence.
I will sustain that. Let's deal with just toxicology at this point.
Okay.
Were you aware of
Right.
any toxicology evidence at the time?
At the time of the actual
The
case?
time on the day of the event when you left the scene?
No, I was not.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Were you aware of any evidence supporting that the defendant was having an affair at this time when you were not suspicious?
In April? No, I was not.
Were you aware of any evidence that the defendant had told someone else that there was blood everywhere?
No, I was not aware of that either.
And from your observation in these pictures, was there blood everywhere?
No.
Were you aware of any evidence that would suggest the defendant was the one pushing the plastic surgery and not Michelle?
Objection, Your Honor. Again, calling for suggesting facts that aren't in evidence.
This is an order of proof issue. You can tie that up, right?
Well, first off, I believe it has been in evidence that the defendant was eager for the surgery.
Could you remind me from who?
Dr. Thompson and Dr. Welch.
I believe an inference could be drawn in that regard. The objection's overruled. You may proceed.
So were you aware of any evidence that would suggest the defendant was more eager for the surgery than Michelle when you were not suspicious?
Just based on the statement that Mr. MacNeill had made about why she had to have the fucking surgery led me to believe that she wanted the surgery.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from the defense?
You did learn a number of those things over the course of the summer of 2007, correct?
Some, yes.
And even in September of 2007, you indicated that you weren't going to continue with the investigation at that point, correct?
Yes, we had received autopsy results.
Thank you.
I don't have further questions, Your Honor.
Do you have any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Looks like a couple. Counsel, would you approach? Mr. Wright, the jury has a couple of questions. In State's Exhibit 32, could you project that? There is a dark object next to the shampoo and conditioner bottles. Can you identify that object? And the juror notes it's on the opposite side of a bottle from the drain.
We talking that area right there?
I believe so. Do you know what that is?
I don't.
Thank you. Can we have the lights up? You testified that you took a photograph of some clothing in the bathroom, correct?
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to observe that clothing? Look carefully at it?
As far, can you, I guess,
Can you,
be a little more specific?
do you know whether it was wet or dry or something else?
It was wet. It was, all of the clothing was extremely wet.
Did you see pants or LDS garment bottoms anywhere in the bedroom or bathroom?
Not that I recall, no.
Do you have follow-up questions from the state?
No, I was just going to ask to publish State's Exhibits 24 through 32 to the jury.
We'll do that in just a moment. Any questions from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Peed, would you, if you'll provide those to the jury?
We could publish Defendant C as well.
Any objection?
No, thank you.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, why don't you take just a few minutes and view those photographs and the diagram. State's Exhibits 24 through 32 and Defendant C are published to the jury. May Mr. Wright be excused at this time?
Yes, but still be under subpoena.
You'll remain under your trial subpoena. If we need you further, you'll be notified. You may step down. Thank you.
Thank you.
collect those, please. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now take our lunch recess. Please keep in mind my previous instruction to you. It's your duty not to discuss any subject of the trial with each other or with anyone else. It's your duty not to form or express an opinion on the case until submitted for deliberation. Avoid television, radio, or internet news coverage of the trial. Don't do any research on your own using computers or something else. We'll reconvene at 1:05. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. We are now outside the presence of the jury, still on the record in the case. All counsel are present. Mr. MacNeill is present. There was an issue from this morning we needed to talk about, disclosure of a witness.
Judge, first off, just to give the court an idea as to where we're at for the day, we're moving much quicker today than we'd anticipated, even based on the preliminary hearing and so forth. We have one witness that we've moved up to today, Stephen Mickelson, who will be here after lunch that we can put on. We don't have any other witnesses that we can put up today simply because they haven't been put on notice to be here today.
Okay.
We've been through 6 witnesses already today. With that said, we do have the issue with one witness that we intend to call tomorrow. There's the notice issue. I think that we could talk about that this afternoon as well. And I think it would also be helpful to the parties to discuss maybe procedurally how to approach the question of Ada MacNeill and her testimony.
I would like to do that. Can we do that this afternoon then?
I think we could. That, I think, may take us to 3, but we may end up recessing somewhat earlier, Judge.
Okay. How long will you be with Mr. Mickelson?
About an hour, probably.
And you, half an hour maybe?
Oh, I meant total.
Oh, total. Oh, an hour total. Okay, that helps me. That will give us some time to take care of some other matters. Anything further now then?
Not from the state. May we approach, Judge?
Yes.